Well, the DNC has finally decided to stop taking money from fossil fuel companies. It's a great step forward, but there's about 100 other industries that they need to abandon. You know, again, full disclosure, I'm not a Democrat, I'm not a Republican. I've been independent for 30 plus years, okay? I just try to call balls and strikes. If a candidate looks good on the R's, I'll go with that candidate. If they look good on the D's, I'll go with the candidate. Nothing tribal about it. Hopefully it's analytical and we make right decisions if we analyze facts. So here the DNC is putting this out as if this is revolutionary. We're not going to take money from the fossil fuel industry. Well, the other part of that story is they don't get much money to begin with. The Republicans get all the money from the fossil fuel industry. Now, the real question I would have, and I've asked them this in the past. I mean, I've been on panels where this has come up, where the discussion has been, maybe you ought to think about maybe not taking $1 gazillion from the pharmaceutical industry, or maybe you ought to turn down that money from Monsanto or DuPont or Dow or Wall Street. They are like a money magnet. So here, it's like all it is. It's like a card game. You know, it's like a card trick. They're forcing a hand. I'm not going to take money from the fossil fuel industry. Well, right. They're not giving you that much to begin with. I think the Republicans make about 6 times as much from the fossil fuel industry. As a matter of fact, if you recall, Obama tried to change all that by letting the fossil fuel industry just frack America into oblivion. He signed more fracking, go frack. You remember that?
Yeah.
We're going to frack everywhere. So they were trying to turn that around. And even after he did that, the fossil fuel industry, they never really coughed up a lot of money.
Right.
So what am I looking this through the wrong glasses right now?
Well, look, you know, when you read the headline, DNC votes unanimously to no longer accept money from fossil fuel companies. That on its face, you see that and you feel good. You're like, you know what, that is the right thing to do. But when you even dig down into the story here, reported by Think Progress, they mention, well, Democrats don't get very much from these groups. Republicans get 7 times more. So it's basically you have a panhandler out there saying, I'm not going to take any handouts from other panhandlers.
Yeah.
Well, okay, but they're not the ones who are running your campaigns. It is the Wall Street types. It is Big Pharma. You know, before Citizens United in 2010, the 2 top donor groups for the Democratic Party were trial lawyers and labor unions. Mm-hmm. Following Citizens United, the group that jumped up to the top were investment bankers.
Yeah.
Now trial lawyers and labor unions keep falling further down that list, and it's all corporations. We got defense contractors jumping up in there, but the big banks, the pharmaceutical companies, they hold the key there. So you might think, okay, well, we're not going to take money from these companies that are destroying the planet. Great for you. What are you going to do
about pharmaceuticals, about these, Wall Street, about DuPont, about Dow, about Monsanto, about, you know, I could go on forever. And it's almost as if they're trying to say, well, you know, we're just not like them. No, they are like them. There's no difference between them and them. It's the same thing. And so here you got this ploy, well, you know, we're not going to take any money from the fossil fuel industry. I got to tell you something. If you really believe in either one of these parties, Democrat or Republican, you know, you have responsibility, don't you think, to say, really, you know, we saw the shift take place with the Democrats, right?
Yep.
Bill Clinton comes in office. Bill Clinton says, you know, we keep getting beat because corporations always side up with the Republicans. Well, we're going to, as a Democrat, we're going to create what we call the Wall Street Democrat, okay? The Wall Street Democrat is very obvious who they are. You know, Cory Booker, for example, Manchin there in West Virginia, Hillary Clinton, Wall Street Democrat. I mean, we could go on forever. You know, unfortunately, Joe Biden is, you know, he's the presidential guy. Look at that guy's papers, man. You talk about Wall Street Democrat, he's got it all over him. So but we have to be honest about that. We have to say, okay, there's a shift that's taken place. It's a shift. Maybe you aren't, you know, maybe you're not that Democrat that you used to be, but you're not. Don't make stuff up and make it sound like you are. because that's what happens. You have these people that they stop asking questions about the very party that they're tied to. Republicans are even, I don't know, I think they're worse. I think they're worse because Republicans don't have anybody who will criticize Republicans when they do awful Republican things.
Right.
Democrats do, me and you. Cenk Uygur, I could go on forever about people that say, let's call it out and call it out. So I don't know. This story to me, when I saw it, I got to say, be real. We know that that's nonsense.
Well, what is interesting too, because it's like they came out and said, you know what, we're no longer going to kick puppies. Oh my God, were you kicking puppies? Well, no, but we're going to make it official.
But we won't do it in the future.
And also, just to add real quick, they're still going to take money from people that work in the fossil fuel industry, which could include CEOs and shareholders, just not from the corporation itself if it comes from a super PAC.
This has got Debbie Wasserman Schultz kind of thinking all over it. That's why we are where we are with this dope of a President Trump, because Debbie Wasserman Schultz didn't want to run a fair campaign. And this is kind of thinking that gets them there.
Yeah.
Judges approved the merger of media giants AT&T and Time Warner. It's a merger that's going to create even less competition and fewer media options for consumers. I look at this, and first thing I want to know, who is this judge, right? That's where this analysis begins. Who's the judge? Judge Richard Leon, U.S. District Court, has never seen a corporation that he didn't fall in love with, that he would have sex in public with. This guy is just all over being owned and operated by corporations. He's a U.S. District Court judge in District of Columbia. He had the right to say no more mergers. He's the same guy that the Comcast.
Yeah.
Same guy that did that, right? Comcast.
Right.
Okay, take it from there.
So Richard Leon, appointed by George W. Bush in 2002, and just even a quick search on his record, and you find some of the most pro-corporate rulings ever. Now, it should be noted, he actually did pretty good with Gitmo detainees, treated them like human beings, but on corporations, look, he cited against the FDA on banning the import of electronic cigarettes from other countries that are completely unsafe, filled with chemicals we
will
don't know.
cause cancer, will cause all kinds of poisoning.
Struck down the graphic warning on cigarette labels.
Right.
Approved the Comcast Universal thing that destroyed MSNBC, turned it unrecognizable, and he approves this AT&T Time Warner merger with no conditions. Nothing has to be met. They don't have to sell off any properties. You get it as is. You're good to go.